A few of you have asked about some advanced noter techniques, so I thought I'd do a video today just looking at use of the noter at a slightly more advanced level. Really, before you look at this video, I suggest you have a look at the one that I've done on holding the noter in the two guided noter grips, either the overhand grip or the underhand grip. So I suggest you look at that first before coming on to this. One thing I want to add is that you can use either grip, either the overhand guided grip or the underhand guided grip for any of these techniques except for one, which is the extended finger technique. But everything else that you see in this video you can use both grips for. Okay, the first technique that I'm going to look at is lifting the noter. We'd sort of think about noter playing as being slides. So we'd think about keeping the noter continuously down on the string, but actually a lot of the time when I'm playing you want to lift the noter at phases, and I'm not talking about lifting the noter completely off the string, but just lifting it up enough, bouncing effectively up off of the frets so that the noter sits sits on the string but actually doesn't fret the note. So if I played, say, 5 consecutive notes with the noter down, it would sound like this. And if I use noter lifts in between each note, it would sound like this. So for a lot of tunes you'll find that right throughout the tune there'll be areas where you're sliding through notes and areas where you're lifting through notes. If you take, say, the first phase of, say, Spotted Pony, that's a classic where I would use lifts rather than slides. The first little phrase, if you play it with a slide, would be okay, and when it gets fast it can get a little confusing. Whereas if I put lifts in, I can staccato it and make it a little clearer. Hear that? Rather than... It's very subtle, but you'll find it'll make a lot of difference to your playing. So that's lifts instead of... it's... The next group of techniques I want to look at are really associated with hammer-ons and pull-offs. If you're playing with your fingers, then you'll find a lot of players will use hammer-ons and pull-offs. We do a very similar thing with the noter. It is a little more complex with the noter because there's more variation that's available. So I've broken these down, and the first one I want to look at is what I call the push. Okay, and this is moving the noter early into the next note. So if I play, say, a 5-note scale, and that's moving the noter on the beat. If I move the noter before the beat, it sounds like this. Okay, so I'm pushing into the note early, both up and down. Listen to that again. Straight. And with pushes. Okay, it's very useful. It's like doing an early hammer-on. The next one from pushes are drags, and this is moving the noter into the note after the beat. So again, straight, and with drags, Okay, so let's look at straight. With pushes. And with drags. The next technique would be doing grace notes, and again you'll see these a lot in all types of folk music. People put grace notes in for augmentation. Now with your fingers, a grace note would just be a standard straightforward hammer on and pull off. So we can do that with a noter with just a flick. Okay, and you can do the flick up or the flick down. So let's do a descending 5 with grace notes. Okay, and we can flick up or flick down. Okay, so let's put pushes, drags and grace notes into context. If I take, say, an example of, say, something like The Blackest Crow, I can play it through straight and it would sound like this. Or if I add pushes, drags and grace notes to it, it would sound like this. So it's very subtle, but I think that these techniques give noter players we get the same opportunities that people have with their fingers to augment the style of the piece that we're actually playing. Okay, so let's look at some further hammer-on and pull-off techniques. The classic hammer-on and pull-off is to hammer on from an open string and to pull off to an open string. Okay, and you may add that into something. Again, if I use The Blackest Crow as an example, I should be able to add that straightforward hammer on and pull off into that. Okay, so there's a strike, hammer on and slide. Here it is again. Pull off there. Okay, one of the issues is with using a note of hammer on pull-offs is getting that pull-off to a note that isn't the open string. There are techniques for doing that. One of the techniques I use, and you can only actually use it with an over-the-top grip rather than under thumb grip, is to use my little finger as a secondary noter. So I might have something like this. Let's take a tune where this would come into its own. Say something like Mississippi Sawyer, which just played straight with the noter is. And it's quite difficult to get this when you're actually playing with the noter, particularly once the tune speeds up. Whereas if I use my little finger as a secondary noter, I can give it as next technique I want to look at is the angled noter technique, where I use the noter to play the notes between the frets or to play notes on the non-fretted strings. I've seen reference to this. I think the earliest reference I've seen to it was around about 1917, where a journalist was visiting the Appalachians and was talking about a skilled player reaching across to play notes on the bass string, and this is the most straightforward technique that they would have used. Let me try and explain it. If you place your noter onto a string and just play it, you get a very dead sound. But if I place my noter on the string, and at the same time if I touch the fretboard, and in this case on the bass string I'm just going to touch the edge of the fretboard, so if I touch the edge of the fretboard and touch the string will ring. So just touch the string, and it's dead. Touch both string and fretboard and it rings. So if I was reaching across, say, to the bass string for notes, let me think of an example. Arkansas Traveller. So say. So that's fairly straightforward. You can play your scale up and down the bass string. You can use the same technique on the melody string to catch the notes between the frets. And again, if you just touch the string, it's dead. But if you touch the string and the fretboard, the note will ring. Now I wouldn't suggest that you use this technique to, say, play a whole tune in a minor key like, say, Shady Grove. But it's quite effective for just snatching the odd note. Perhaps a good example would be something like, say, I'll Fly Away. If you play it in a bluegrass style, it uses the minor third as well as the major third. So let's see if I can play that as an example for you. Here we go. Okay, that would be using the major third. Play that again. Okay, if I play the run with the minor third, it gets a little bit more bluegrassy. So you hear that difference instead of. It's very subtle, but we'll listen to it in the piece. Okay, not brilliantly played. I'm at a bit of an awkward angle here, just so you can see. But I think you get the idea there, that just by putting the noter onto its nose against the fretboard and against the string, you can pretty much play any note you want on a standard diatonic layout. Okay, so just to run through all of those techniques again, we've got lifts rather than slides. We've got pushing into the note early. We've got dragging into the note late. We've got hammer-ons and pull-offs to the open string. We've got hammer-ons and pull-offs to an extended finger. We've got angled nota playing bass notes. We've got the angled nota playing melody notes. So I hope that's been useful for you. They're just a lot of the techniques that I use. If I can think of any more, I'll do another video. But yeah, so thanks for watching.